The sea had always been full of stories, but none were told with such unease as the tale of the island that moves. Sailors spoke of it in hushed tones, usually when the lamps in the tavern guttered low or when the night stretched too quiet for comfort. Some swore they had seen it. A stretch of emerald forest shimmering in the fog, cliffs streaked with veins of glowing stone, waters that lapped against shores which shifted even as you stared. The island never remained fixed. Charts that attempted to mark its position were worthless within weeks, for the landmass would vanish and reappear across the world's oceans as though carried by invisible currents. The strangest thing wasn't its movement, but what happened to those who set foot upon it. Survivors, if they could be called such, returned altered. Their eyes seemed too bright, their words fractured, their very presence unnerving. Some became visionaries, painting impossible landscapes or scribbling symbols no one could read. Others fell silent, wasting away as if haunted by something only they could see. Captain Elias Thorne had grown up on such tales. His father, a renowned navigator, had vanished pursuing the island, leaving behind nothing but a torn map inked with strange markings. Elias carried that fragment like a curse, folded and refolded until the edges frayed. Where others dismissed the story as drunken fancy, Elias believed. He had devoted half his life to chasing currents, listening to rumors, collecting the testimonies of broken men. For him, the island wasn't a myth. It was an inheritance. And now, after decades of waiting, the sea had begun to whisper again. Fishermen off the black current spoke of a moving shore that hadn't been there the night before. A trader swore his compass spun wildly while a green shadow loomed beneath the mist. Elias knew the signs. The island had returned. The ship that carried Elias and his crew was called the Wayfarer, a vessel that had braved storms, privateers, and even the frozen straits of the north. Its timbers creaked like an old dog's bones, but its sails held steady. Elias hand-picked his crew, those reckless enough to follow him into uncharted waters. There was Marek, a scarred sailor who claimed he'd once seen the island's lights from afar. There was Elira, a scholar of forgotten languages, eager to decipher any markings they might find. There was Jas, a carpenter who'd lost his family to the sea and believed the island held answers. And there were others, each drawn by promises of riches, glory, or redemption. For weeks they sailed, the ocean stretching endless in every direction. The men grew restless, muttering that they were chasing ghosts. Supplies dwindled, but Elias pressed on, guided by a pull he could not explain. Then, one night under a swollen harvest moon, the sea changed. Fog rolled in, thick as wool. The air grew warm, scented with something sweet and floral, though no flowers could be seen. And then through the mist they saw it. Cliffs rising high, forests glowing faintly as if lit from within. The island moved, not with the tide, but as though it shifted of its own will, sliding across the horizon like a living thing. Elias gripped the railing, his heart hammering. After years of searching, the legend stood before him. Anchoring near the island proved nearly impossible. The shoreline itself seemed to slide, as though resisting their touch. When the longboats finally scraped onto sand, the ground felt unsteady, like standing on the back of a slumbering beast. The crew disembarked cautiously. Trees rose in twisted spirals, their bark etched with symbols that shimmered faintly in the moonlight. The forest hummed with unseen life, the air heavy with a strange vibration that seemed to press against the skin. Marek muttered prayers under his breath. As they ventured inland, paths seemed to open and close at will. One moment a clearing lay before them. The next, it was swallowed by shifting foliage. The lagoon they camped beside was like no water Elias had ever seen. It reflected not the present moment, but something else. Faces appeared in its silver surface, not their own, but strangers. A woman with hair like fire, a child with eyes too old, a man who looked terribly familiar. When Elias bent close, he saw his father's face staring back. The crew grew uneasy, and at night the island spoke. Whispers drifted on the wind, calling them by name. The sound was not frightening at first. It was gentle, coaxing, but it carried weight, like a hand pressing against the soul. By morning, 3 sailors were gone. Their bedrolls remained, their belongings untouched, But the men themselves had vanished as if plucked from existence. Panic set in. Some accused the island. Others blamed Elias for bringing them here. They pressed deeper inland searching for answers, and found an altar stone ancient and vast. It was carved with the likeness of something colossal, part serpent, part leviathan, crowned with spines like jagged mountains. Around it, smaller carvings showed men kneeling, offering their souls to creature. The sight unsettled even the bravest among them. Elira traced the carvings with her fingers, whispering translations in a tongue none of them knew she spoke. It moves, it feeds, it remembers. Her voice was not her own. When Elias pulled her away, she stared at him with eyes gone pale and said softly, "It is awake." That night, the island shifted again. The stars overhead rearranged themselves, constellations twisting into unfamiliar forms. The crew swore they could feel the ground breathing. The days that followed were a descent into madness. Food spoiled faster than it should. Water from the streams turned to brine in their mouths. Some crew members grew ill, their skin mottled, their eyes clouded with visions. Others fell silent, gazing at the trees, as if they were listening to voices Elias could not hear. Marek confessed he had seen his death, an image burned into his mind by the island itself. He described it in vivid detail, the sea swallowing him whole while voices chanted in the deep. His hands trembled as he spoke, yet there was no fear in him, only resignation. At night, Elias dreamed of his father. In those visions, the old navigator beckoned him deeper into the forest, whispering, "This is where we belong." Elias woke each time drenched in sweat, yet the pull grew stronger. One evening, they discovered the fate of the missing crew. In a glade where the trees leaned unnaturally, they found them, rooted into the earth. Their bodies were fusing with bark, skin hardening into wood, eyes glassy and glowing faintly green. The island was not merely taking them. It was remaking them. The Wayfarer was gone. The bay where they had left her was now a wall of black rock, waves crashing against cliffs. The island had shifted again, dragging them into a new place, or perhaps a new world. Landmarks changed daily. Rivers bent into new courses overnight. Mountains rose where none had been the day before. The crew dwindled further, some vanishing into the forest willingly, others simply dissolving into nothingness. Elira spoke less and less in her own tongue, muttering instead in the language of the altar carvings. When Elias confronted her, she smiled sadly. "It doesn't matter. We are already part of it." The truth settled over Elias like a storm. The island was not drifting across the sea. It was crossing between realities, shifting through worlds. Those who lingered too long were consumed, absorbed into its living memory. The island fed on souls, wearing them like masks, and in return, it offered glimpses of truths too vast for human minds. At last, Elias stood alone at the altar. The forest pulsed like a great heart. The ground trembled as if the entire island prepared to dive once more into unseen depths. He gazed into the lagoon, hoping for answers. The face that stared back was not his own. It was his father's, age-weary, but smiling faintly. "Welcome home," the reflection whispered. Elias understood then. His father had not vanished. He had become part of the island, woven into its endless shifting. And now it was Elias's turn. The sea roared. The stars above bent into spirals. The island moved again, not across the horizon, but through existence itself, sliding into a place where maps could never follow. Elias felt his body dissolve, not into death, but into transformation. His veins filled with salt. His thoughts merged with whispers older than time. He was no longer a man, no longer a captain. He was a memory within the island, a fragment of its eternal drift. And somewhere far away, sailors in a tavern would whisper once more the island that moves, never knowing that every tale they told fed the thing that had become Elias Thorne.